A lot of foreigners and Koreans, you know, have not played best of fives. So this is a very uncommon ground to be down 0-2. Now, these teams have, but how are they going to react in this setting?
As CJ banning out Rumbles, again, that they're not going to take any risks, you know, they're not going to face a pick that they're not familiar facing, they don't know enough about, perhaps. And
something I've seemed to notice is the blue side Rumble ban is being very common, and this, again, it might come down to purple side Baron control and purple side Dragon control, because of the way that, you know, the Equalizer can manipulate the terrain of the fight. However, again, Rumble is a very forceful pick, so, I mean, yes, you can pick it late, but you could easily just pick a top laner that basically says, I dare you. Because Rumble is also not a champion that can 1v2. So here we are with the Lulu, the Twitch, and now the Kosidin ban coming right out, Thresh ban, so now they're targeting Coco, they're targeting Mad Life. They're targeting the comfort picks of CJ. I don't think CJ cares right now.
I mean, with the LeBlanc pick, what a confident pick. I mean, given
right.
Like we've mentioned, Coco has never won a single game on LeBlanc.
Right.
But he's saying, okay, you've opened up LeBlanc for me, you've looked down on my LeBlanc, and I'm going to show you what I'm capable of.
Right.
And how will Najin respond? That's a question. I mean, despite that, I mean, it seems like the players' win records actually don't really reflect on the player's potency with the champ, because it might not actually be that player's fault that they lost.
Of course not. Right, of course not. You can't always factor that in. So, yes, while the graphs and the analytics, they are very good, what really matters, it's not necessarily the record, it's the GPM, the KDA, you know what I mean, itemization, who did they pick it into? Well, did you lose Kosidin against Zed? Who cares? You know, not who cares, but it's understandable. Did you lose Kosidin against LeBlanc? Well, then something's wrong, so...
And the Soraka, top Soraka again, and it seems like they're opting for perhaps Jack's jungle or Soraka mid?
But is it top Soraka? Now, Soraka can come out mid because the silence matches LeBlanc. The heal innately out-sustains LeBlanc, and then they both build into Athene, so it gives Soraka a comfort lane. If it is going to be mid, because they can both easily get Chalice at the same time, and then that favors Soraka more, because the MR debuff. So you factor that in. Jax is a counter pick when used in the jungle to stop Feral Flare junglers, because Jax has the disengage with the engage. So he can get away from Feral Flare junglers and also dive them under tower. And Jax 2-core item can take on almost all the Feral Flare junglers at 3 to 4 core items. That's a really scary dynamic. And then Jax also is a split pusher, which the majority of Feral Flare junglers are. So now we have the Shyvana, and is it going to go top? Is it going to go, you know, is it going to go jungle?
Jungle, yeah.
Right.
And one thing I noticed about Shy is that he can outplay, we've seen this in CJ Frost's game against SKD T1S actually. In the first game, Shy played Jax against Shyvana. But in the second game, he played Shyvana against Marin's Jax, but he outplayed them in both occasions. So Shy doesn't actually really care that he gives the Jax away. I know enough about Jax to outplay you on my Shyvana.
Yep.
And Prey locked into Varus, an unconventional pick. I think this is the first time we've seen a Varus in competitive league.
Correct. And now, okay, so now the Zed comes out, but Soraka top is still not decided. It could go to support. Kane could still pick up Soraka. With Varus, what is that really going for? What is the Zed pick? Like, some things aren't starting to add up, and now here's Morgana again. I'm going to shut down your Counter-Strike. I'm going to shut down your Death Mark. You know, I feel like, again, Najin is just, they're getting outpicked. And this would be, okay, oh.
Okay, the Evelyn pick.
Okay, so Evelyn jungle, it seems. Space is hovering over Evelyn. So we'll have LeBlanc mid, Evelyn jungle, Shyvana top, blue side,
right.
Which is important against if Jax selects to go top. Right. Because purple side Jax has a harder time against Shyvana,
right.
Blue side. And that's just the dynamic of the minion control, the dynamic of the lane, how the positioning is played out. And now, we look back at game 1, we had this matchup, right? And a line swap came out. It was Lucian Thresh, this time it's Lucian Morgana. You know,
have to see.
And then on top of that, the Morgana pick is really key, because Shyvana can go in with Dragonflight. right? And she can basically spread the way. She can part the Red Sea like Moses. And then Morgana can come in with the chains, and that basically means, Zed, hey, if you elect to commit, Jax, if you want to commit, you're getting chained. And you're not going to get off your Death Mark to full capacity. You're not going to get off Counter-Strike because I'm going to Black Shield it. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff coming in. And the Dragon's Flight from Shyvana with Black Shield on her, if they elect to use it that way, it provides for a very nice clearing the way for Lucian's Culling. Because then it guaranteedly gets to go one of two ways, because you have the Behemoth coming at you, that is Shyvana.
And Kane opts for the Nami. Is it going to be Soraka jungle?
This is not... Okay, there we go.
Okay,
Jax jungle.
Jax jungle, but they're swapping again, but it's probably going to be Jax jungle.
Well, it could be Zed jungle. Well, it could be Zed jungle. Zed jungle is a possibility. It's not out of the equation.
Right. I'm opting against the Soraka jungle because, I mean, I've seen Soraka jungle in Korean solo queues pretty often, but that usually happens when the mid champion is a mono-based champion, whereas Zed is not, so... And, yeah.
This is a little bit bizarre. Like, the laughter on the faces and the relaxed smiles when down 0-2.
Right.
That doesn't really add up.
Right.
Maybe they are already defeated mentally, whereas CJ, you can see it in their eyes. They're still serious.
Right.
They know they're up, but this is professional. Right.
And also, one thing I noticed is that Najin hasn't made any swaps. Najin hasn't made any swaps, right? So they pretty much went down and picked out the champions that they want to pick, right? Limit picked top when it was his turn, and then so on and so forth.
Correct.
So whereas CJ like carefully planned out their bans and picks, but I'm not sure how seriously Najin is actually approaching this game.
It seems very weird. They've gotten smashed in the picks and bans.
Right.
And drafting is a core component to what also makes a team. It's
Some
not
people
just...
say that the game is 70% of the game is actually determined in the bans and picks.
I could see that in some cases, like last game. That game was 80% picks. That was just obliteration, showing that hand so early. Alright, so here we go.
Right.
We're going into game 3. This is ace point for CJ.
And also, I mean, the difference in motivation, perhaps, because Coco and Swift, they've actually had longer careers than people think, and they've never made the final of any sort of event, and they want a final. They want a championship title in their career, whereas that's not the case with Najin. So I have to wonder, the difference in motivation, is that what separates these two teams?
And here we go. The game has commenced. Early wards coming out. And what do we notice from Mad Life again? That heavy ward opening.
Right.
Because we're just going to outplay you.
And the Jax jungle, I mean, he's probably going to opt for the Feral Flare build.
Of course, well, you have to. And no other jungler item really makes sense on it. Like, maybe he could go Ancient Golem, but that doesn't make sense.
Sort of
you can use your ultimate to gain the MR and the magic resist in synergy with Soraka's W.
And Limit just really... And Nagne just... they're getting a kick out of this.
Yep.
Whereas CJ is pinging the locations, and they're just really aware of where is Mad Life gonna land the bind to see. Oh, but I think Nagne. Okay, he's forced.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now that is not a spell you want to open up with level 1, but at the professional level, you're trying to be a good player. You don't get a skill until the lane commences.
Right.
Exactly for that reason.
And also it seems like Zed on LeBlanc. That's almost that matchup is so favorable against Zed anyway, but considering that Zed was forced to learn his shadow at level 1, will Zed even be able to farm against LeBlanc, given that LeBlanc is a range auto and is going to be able to deny Zed anyway?
Zed's gonna get very bullied right now until he gets that 7th minion kill, because then it procs to level 2.
Right.
So here we have the line swap going down, lane swap. Yep. Similar openings to game 1. And this is also a very similar comp coming out of CJ. So see how this, we'll see how this goes out. And it looks like
they're
Swift,
going for an early gank.
right? And okay, and as we notice,
the early level 2,
level 2, right? Because Coco knows that Nanya can't respond.
Right. But actually, considering that, it's we could even say that it's fortunate that Nagne learned the W at level 1, because if that was the Q, he would have taken in some serious damage.
Right, but if he did have the Q, maybe the lane doesn't manipulate the same way in terms of minion kills, pressure, positioning.
I see. And oh my goodness.
And this is a technique that it was invented in Season 2. Faker rebirthed it on Riven, which you blow the ignite early to basically say get out of lane. When you come back, I'm going to have level 4, level 5 to your level 2 or 3. I'm going to have the skill upgrade on you, I'm going to have the base stats on you, and my ignite will come up by the time it's potent again. And this again comes down to the 2v2 dynamic of mid lane, where Coco is trusting Swift that yes, my ignite is down, but our level advantage, our synergy, we're going to outplay them, and I'm going to gain an advantage through this ignite attack.
And also, given that Jax is a Pharaoh Flare, Swift taking the back position on Limit, I think they're going to go down with the gank. At least they're going to pull the flash away from Limit, or not. Right? I mean, Soraka's survival ability is incredible with the.
Absolutely.
And Space actually taking in quite a lot of damage, but Kayn is being attacked by the minions, and Space manages to land a skill and 2 autos on Kayn, so not much benefit from Najin's side. And while Kayn actually, considering that he's a level down, he's laning pretty aggressively. Now the CJ bot lane is pushed far up, and Jax coming in from behind.
Jax coming in from behind. Black Shield is down. Flash is out. This is gonna be. This should be double kill.
Should be double kill. The stun goes in.
Aqua Prison
and Mad Life is slowed down. Right.
Nope. There we go. But Prey, what do we notice about that? No assist. So that's, you know, what.
But considering that,
Kayn got 1, but he didn't on the last kill.
Right. So it's not the maximum benefit that they could have gotten from. Well, although it.
But they can't risk it. They can't,
right.
you know, can't risk it coming. So, kill secured.
Yeah, I remember seeing Prey in those sort of situations. He would even force flash forward and land the auto to get the kill, so on and so forth. But perhaps, considering that it's a Varus, he gets caught in the jam pretty often. He doesn't have any skills to escape away from when he's being caught.
Correct.
Can't risk losing his flash.
Now, this is one of the beautiful things about Shyvana is she is one of the few champions that can basically say to Soraka, hey, I have a movement boost that you can't catch me. I can proxy farm against you, much similar to like Singed. Right. And Shyvana can go behind enemy lines very early because of her innate tankiness and proxy farm. And then Shyvana is forced to expend her mana early on, and she doesn't have Chalice to back up her mana. And we see here again the double Doran's ring coming out of Limit here, which I'm not sure I totally agree with. It seems like a very peculiar opening, especially in this matchup.
Is the Doran's ring really going to help in laning against Shyvana?
No. It's battle stats. She's not going to be battling. Shyvana also, we have Shy recognizing that Soraka is trying to go battle stats early. And Shy is just basically saying, hey, we're not going to fight at all, actually. I'm just going to complete my build faster.
Nagne, the Ignite is on Nagne, and he's caught. The Zed ulti goes down, and Nagne is actually trying to salvage a kill, and he does! Super play from Nagne Zed!
Absolutely beautiful by Nan. Yeah, it was absolutely well played.
That was something to savor.
Yep.
I thought Nagne was done for.
Right. And it's an awkward position because Evelyn can't wait back at Zed's shadow because we saw that he wasn't going to take tower range damage. So Shyvana can't collapse fast enough, and then you risk having to run a chase, and maybe Zed can even get to tower and die to tower. So thus, just negating anything. Or he can get out with W, possibly. And bot lane again.
Into space, and Space! Kayn flashes forward, but Space manages to escape with a sliver of health. A Shy teleports behind!
Oh!
The Dragon's Descent coming in, Prey heals, and he survives, but again, Kayn is caught there, but I think he's going to survive there too.
Now, that was really beautiful by Prey to flash with the Dragon's Descent, to go with the flow, kind of like going with the wave at the beach, but I don't understand, why not just secure the kill on Nami?
Right.
A kill secured, you would give the assist gold, the lane would then shove, and then Prey isn't really, he's not able to stay at tower. You could maybe cap that tower,
Right.
Or you could just get Dragon off that, potentially,
So
because
let's
LeBlanc's
watch
gonna...
this replay
Yep.
here of Nagne's super play. He gets Q in, he's farming, and no, the Swift level is actually really good.
Now, you see that LeBlanc went forward a little bit. That probably gave away that Evelyn was coming, so he had about a second and a half more to think about what he's going to do. LeBlanc's out of mana here. Everything goes down.
And he just landed
Perfect.
every skill
Yep.
so perfectly and just...
Really beautiful play.
My goodness, this is what Nagne is capable of. I mean, isn't the matchup between Zed and LeBlanc really in LeBlanc's favor? I mean, but... what these
It
players are
depends on
capable of
how
doing
you
to
can
stop
time
them.
your Sigil of Silence. It's going to come down to that. So it's definitely going to be a timing-based matchup, based on cooldowns.
And Shy just erasing the pink ward there to perhaps, I mean, threaten Soraka that Evelyn might be approaching.
And this is also Nanya's second game on Zed
Right.
in recent times, so perhaps Coco wasn't expecting a Zed pick. That could be possible. But this is the first game that Najin is starting to get a lead, so maybe CJ was getting a little bit comfortable.
Right. A little too comfortable.
Right.
And also now that... Now, it seems like this also helps the case between... Of the matchup between the two junglers, that Swift is a little locked in, babysitting some lanes, but Jax seems to be able to farm comfortably in the jungle and build the Feral stacks.
Right. So now we see Jax has Wriggles, he has his boots. And I'm curious to some degree how much maybe Helios has studied Feral Flare or Jax, because there are some optimizations, especially if you snowball, where you can actually get level 2 boots to move quicker through the jungle.
Oh, nice escape from space. Perhaps that it gave it away that Jax is approaching, and
That probably gave away that Jax was approaching, but it also doesn't add up because there was no way for Nami to hit a double tidal wave there, so Black Shield is just going to negate it, even if it would hit. So Kayn going for that ultimate, it may just be to shove the lane down.
they meet in mid, and the
Will Zed
Sigil
go?
will explode. What will Zed do? Oh, he misses the Q! Now Coco has the advantage, as Shy has roamed down to the mid lane, and it's Nagne trying to go to the bot lane, trying to secure a kill. The bind misses. Nagne's display of mechanics is incredible in this game. The ultimate goes in, the exhaust is down. Will they be able to land the stun? And Swift is down. Jax going in, the bind lands. And Shy going down with the Dragon's Descent. What's going to happen here? And LeBlanc is caught in the jam. Is she going to be able to escape? I think not. Oh! Coco going in and bringing Prey down. Kind of double kill on Coco. Triple
Coco
kill, my goodness.
taking a page out of Pawn's book from last night. That was
Incredible.
extremely
That was
impressive.
Incredible. I mean, it was basically a really confusing team fight overall. I had no idea how to call this, but Coco seemed to be the only one calm enough to see,
That was
which one to hit
extremely
first
impressive.
and make good decisions.
Najin did get top though during that, and I feel like if this fight, now here we go again. So Black Shield comes down, stops the Aqua Prison. Ultimate comes out of Morgana to slow Zed. Now here, Evelyn, I don't really understand that. That seems like it was a little bit rushed. Shyvana comes in Dragon's Descent, however Zed's flash is still up, he's going to be able to get away. And now LeBlanc coming in, and Zed does have to position away, but I feel like when LeBlanc commits to going north, Zed can come back in from an angle. And so this little bush play can't totally happen if Zed positions a Q properly.
My goodness. Wow.
But that was exactly what they needed not to happen, because that would have been a much sooner Dragon, and then possibly even bottom tower, if that doesn't occur.
I mean, Najin does manage to take the Dragon, although Coco picks up the triple kill. Coco has her arm guard up, and I think she is leaning towards building the Athenes. Nowadays, but Shy keeps farming forward. The CS difference between the top laners seems to be widening.
With 3 assists on Shyvana, that is, you know, quite healthy. And we noticed the Bork first out of Shyvana this time. Obviously, in the previous game, she was against a Jax, so elected for the Sunfire Cape. But the Bork is going to enable her to stick to Soraka, who generally is immobile, in the event that something like that happens. And the Bork will also enable disengage on Jax if he tries to go for a leap counter-strike. So there's a lot of utility to be gained from it.
We see jungler, and the top lane are going deep into Najin jungle, and Lucian using the ult to deal some damage, but Prey doesn't really seem to be phased. They're pretty much basically exchanging HP at this point, and Helios moves with Nagne down to bot lane, but it's already spotted by that ward. Is he gonna go for the LeBlanc? Swift senses the mid ganking coming in, and Coco engages Helios. Look at the damage, my god! That negated.
Like Nanya is gonna go in.
Nanya's gonna go in,
and that's it. And Swift knows it, so he's sticking around.
Oh! Coco and Nagne is caught in the jam. Swift flashes forward. The chain comes in. Shyvana teleporting, and the bind lands. Mad Life.
Absolutely insane play from LeBlanc. We just saw Nanya get completely outplayed there by Coco. That was absolutely beautiful. Can't really criticize anything. Now the teleport comes in from Shyvana. They're going to cap mid tower. Zed is down. Jax is really low. But Shyvana's pushing and bot's pushing, so they can't continue to take a tier 2 mid. So they have to rotate back, reshove out the lanes, and then group in middle and do a stalemate.
It's Helios! Oh! Just oh! Coco is dominating!
Coco's going crazy. And now he completes Athene's, which it's going to give him the CDR. It's going to give him the mana sustain, which is the big importance of it. Just because you're up against the Zed in mid, it doesn't mean you have to rush Zhonya's to negate his ultimate. You want
this play here, I mean...
This is absolutely beautiful. So the chains come down on Jax, then Zed elects to go in on LeBlanc, but he miscalculates the damage. And we see Swift waiting down at the shadow because Swift knows there's no way... Now, I think Nanya would actually be safer walking into the jungle there, rather than re-teleporting to the shadow, because it's obvious that Evelyn's there. They can't know this ward is here, and if that's not here, this isn't as detrimental.
It's a puzzling decision from Helios too. Why he knew that the mid tower was going to go down. Why didn't he just recall? I wonder.
Little bizarre.
They're not going to be.
But he has to stay because tier 2 you can't just concede it.
Right. Right.
He had 2 lane shoving. He knew that pressure was coming in from side lanes. If he just stays and basically says, "Hey, no, you can't just take this." Okay.
Right now, they're trying to bring the mid tower down, but Shy taking the back position. Are they going to be able to pull back safely? Morgana's bind doesn't land. And it seems like Najin's going to make their way out of it. Frost is pinning the dragon. Lucian is pushing the bot tower. And now, both Najin and CJ seem to be gathered in the bot lane, perhaps creating a fight, but they choose not to engage, I think. Coco is in a really threatening position, so they have to go back. Swift's ulti comes in, but Mad Life lands the bind again with the ulti. Nagne is done for. He's going to go into Coco trying to get a kill off it, but Coco escapes safely. Oh, Prey! In a situation where Coco is chasing, but the W damage doesn't go in, and Mad Life is caught! So in a situation where Najin would have suffered damage, they actually end up getting a favorable exchange.
Right. So now the game is starting to skew in favor of Najin, which is very good for them, both mentally and also obviously for stats. Right. But also, one thing I'm a little surprised of there was the culling went down, but they have to know that they can't actually chase under tower. So I'm not totally sure on the thought process. Maybe they're hoping to push the lane and then fall back because Dragon's going to be up in about 2 minutes from the start of this. So here we go with the culling. Mad Life lands the chain, and he starts the ultimate to kind of pin Nanya down. Coco gets ulted on by Zed. Nanya trying to go for the kill on Coco. Swift just getting out of there. Space tries to jump over the wall, and then obviously Prey just flashes over, completes the kill. Coco tries to put a little bit more damage down, but he can't get too, he knows that Helios is coming from behind, so he would just get jumped on inside of the bush if he elects to stay.
Also, Kane just landed the prison really calmly, well, securing Mad Life's death. Yeah,
Kane did really well. That was a really beautiful turnaround by Najin.
So Najin actually is much more committed to this game than we thought.
Yep.
And now the Dragon's going to be up in 10 seconds, so they're gathered around there. They have the pink ward there. I think they're going to elect to seek out Evelyn and perhaps jump over the wall, because all of them do have the... Oh! Coco is caught, but he can escape freely. Zed's ultimate goes down on Morgana, which is a bit of a waste. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him. LeBlanc dealing some serious damage, but Kine gets mad-like. As Swift is caught in possession behind, he's not going to be able to survive this. Helios gets the kill, but Shy flashes forward, but the heal goes into Zed and he survives.
So this is really starting to rear its head, where Najin does have a superior mid-game because of these concepts of, you know, the armor gain, the MR gain from Jax. The heal from Soraka can kind of nullify some of this. And then also, you know, Zed with Hex Drinker, it's kind of shutting down LeBlanc's ability to go all in at him, and it also aids against Evelyn. And Soraka is really rearing her head.
The Najin fans are finally vocal for the first time in this series. I mean, nowadays now Najin has built a significant lead. Shy coming down, just harassing Nagne, but the heals coming in, it just prevents CJ from getting any sort of kill. Swift is caught right there in between all 5 players. Shy flashes forward, but the heal from Nami comes in. I mean, the double heal really just seems to throw CJ off their game.
The heal is really causing a very big problem when you're running Evelyn. When she initially started with, you know, she's completing Spirit. And then LeBlanc having to get an assassination off, and then Lucian again opting for Blade of the Ruin King first. And yeah, it synergizes with Culling, but I don't totally get it in this team comp. But there's probably a reasoning behind it.
Nagne comfortably farming in mid, and actually, surprisingly, Praise Var seems to be performing extremely well. Oh.
Brutalizer. Yes, Brutalizer, this is something to note, is that he's electing to go Bloodthirster into Brutalizer into Pickaxe, and he'll probably complete Last Whisper. And the reasoning for doing this is because now Evelyn's going to go tanky. LeBlanc's next item is going to be Zhonya's, to kind of try to negate Zed's Deathmark. And then obviously Shyvana. It'll also penetrate through just inherent armor that, you know, Lucian and Morgana have. So it's an interesting build. Brutalizer is becoming more common on AD carries. And I do expect that it will start becoming more popular as time moves forward, especially if the meta remains the same.
The damage from Prey, like the brute, but he's actually fine. Lands. Mad Life made all the difference there. Actually, Prey confidently rushing forward, and now they're going to try to catch Shy, but with Dragon's Descent, he escapes safely.
Right.
And Dragon turns around to pressure the tower, but perhaps taking a little too much damage.
And we noticed he didn't even use Bork there. And Jax doesn't have Bork.
Oh, but
pause.
The pause coming in. The fans are disappointed. You can see the damage going into Kine, and Coco must be really disappointed that the pause came up. And Nagne Zed, let's talk about that. I mean, he's been landing beautiful plays in and out. I mean, Zed hasn't been the most oftenly picked mid laner compared to what he has been a few splits ago, where he was the dominant mid laner to go with.
Right.
Although Coco's LeBlanc isn't really outclassed, it just seems like Nagne Zed is making quite a bit of difference, bringing Najin back into this game.
Absolutely, and something that's starting to show its head is there's not an exhaust being targeted at Zed. There's no present. So that's a little interesting, because that was one of the problems with the 80 assassin mids.
Right.
Was exhaust came out with that new change, and it just changed the way that they could be played and whatever.
Also considering how in game 1, Nagne's Yasuo was shut down by the exhaust being landed so potently, perhaps Najin is more aware of the summoner cooldowns now, that they know they are attacking when the exhausts are down, they know when it's going to come back up, and seem to be benefiting from many of the teamfights, maximizing Zed's damage.
Absolutely. And the Hex Drinker is also really showing its power, because Soraka doesn't have to commit the W's to Zed. necessarily. So, because he has that added safety that Morgana can proc it, LeBlanc can proc it, and so can Evelyn, and technically Shyvana.
Right. And is Coco going to be unlucky with his LeBlanc again? I mean, it seems like...
It seems so.
Yeah,
the curse of Coco with LeBlanc.
As the game progresses, I mean, it's not going to get any easier, right? With Soraka completing more items and with Nami's heal getting leveled up.
Absolutely.
It's just going to get tougher. And once Zed completes his Memortius, it's going to be almost impossible for LeBlanc to just...
to 100 to 0 him at any point.
Right.
Zed could probably even be at half HP at that point and not really in danger. And then when you factor in Soraka's ultimate, his lethal bar becomes very bizarre to read.
And also what surprises me is how free Prey is, actually, considering that it's a Varus with no real, with less mobility. I mean, if it was perhaps Israel, I wouldn't be surprised that it's allowed to deal so freely, but perhaps Frost is losing a bit of their focus, and their calling might get a little off. But or it could just be Najin improving. And
it could be Najin improving and adapting and like getting their stuff together.
Right. I hate pauses. We see this in Chinese leagues really often, but not in NLB.
When the game commences, that's really interrupting to Coco.
I know, but he gets the kill anyway, but Shy is dead. And Najin is chasing down Swift now. I mean, chasing down CJ now, and Zed gets a kill off LeBlanc, gets a kill off Evelyn, the double kill, and wow, the damage dealing potential of Jax is starting to maximize. That's the sort of Feral Flare jungler's high damage potential that we've been talking about. Oh, are they going to go for the Baron?
Are they going to? Well, Shyvana's teleport is up.
Right,
and there is that ward in front. This could be very dangerous.
They could very well. Oh, comes on, they have to.
Don't do it. Yep. Flash is not up though. Flash Dragon, that cannot happen.
But that teleport alone prevented Najin from taking the Baron away. So intelligent use.
And now it gives a little bit of breathing room back to CJ, because now they're able to push lanes back. Bottom's pushing. Someone has to go and deal with that.
Right.
So it's definitely not over yet, but CJ definitely, they have to make something happen very, very soon, because look at how Zed is just deleting people.
Right. Zed the deleter. I mean, once you're hit with Zed's ultimate, and look at this.
Yeah, Helios.
Erased.
Yep.
Right.
Helios is providing such utility with the Counter-Strike, his gap closing. Limit really being a nuisance right now for CJ.
And also that Zed and Jax both completed the Blade of the Ruin King. It's going to give them a huge advantage when it comes to going for objectives.
Absolutely.
And they're pressuring the mid tower. I don't think CJ is really going to be able to stop this. Shyvana continues to pressure top lane, but he's electing to walk behind him, taking the back position. Perhaps she will engage with the Dragon's Descent. Are they going to be able to take this tower before Shyvana gets there?
It looks like CJ is planning for some kind of a flank. Evelyn's going to come in from behind. Get the... What was that? Najin, that's a little uncharacteristic. And Shyvana also here. And Shyvana killing out the wave, so they don't have minions to fall back to. Not too much, but it is a little bit extra damage if the fight takes place in mid. And there's also unit collision and stuff that can play a part. But...
And they don't want to give that inhibitor turret away.
Right.
But they're pressuring mid again. I think they're extremely confident, not just Sword at the moment, that they're pretty much saying, come at me, bro. We can win the team fight.
Yep, absolutely. They're shoving down mid. Bottom, as we can see, is shoving back. And Shyvana, you know, yes, Shy is in top lane, and he just did clear out the jungle. He's going to recall, meet up in mid, and they'll try to do a dance in front of a mid tower. But definitely Najin right now with the advantage. And they just have to keep this siege up for Dragon.
And Swift coming in from behind, the Dragon's Descent going in, and Nagne is forced to use his flash. Mad Life's chains! Oh, CJ's team fighting right now, that was beautiful. But Soraka chasing them down, Nagne going in, they're not going to be able to salvage much.
They can't deal with Soraka, and this is becoming more and more of the issue, is Lucian did not build damage, he built utility.
Right.
And what are you going to do against the heals and the armor and the disengage and the heals out of Nami as well? So
It also seems that CJ really caught Najin in a very poor position. I mean, I don't think the team fight could have actually gotten any better from CJ's perspective, but the item advantage that Najin has built,
Yes.
and the heals, of course, just really thrown CJ off their game.
Starting to rear its head.
Wrongly, right.
And we see Shyvana now trying to build into Ronduin's. That'll help out a little bit, because Shyvana definitely will get in there with the Dragon's Descent and activate it.
Right.
So here Shy comes in, tries to go on to Prey, Prey not having any of it.
Right.
The peel coming out of Limit, Helios just dealing his damage, Nanya safely got out of that. Shy forced to back off, Space forced to back off, Coco forced to flash. They just can't deal with it.
Perhaps they should just be satisfied by the fact that they didn't give away the inhibitor tower. But it is a little discouraging that they lost the team fight, although they were the first ones to engage. I mean, they're camping in mid, perhaps trying to get something offset. They have the ward. If the bind lands, Nangi's in trouble. Wow! He was aware.
Beautiful reaction time.
Right. Now the Najin seems to have gotten back into their groove. I mean,
Najin's doing really well, and it seems now they're going to give all the CS to Prey. Let Prey get a little bit more built up, and we're seeing the CS. Now, one thing that's really funny and standing out is look at Shy's CS. That is completely different from everyone else in the game.
Just on a league of his own. I mean, not surprising given his given that he's been split pushing for the most of the game. But,
right.
To be able to pick up, for a top laner to pick up 10 CS per minute.
10 CS per minute, right?
That's impressive. I mean, 10 CS per minute seems to be like the benchmark for how well a mid laner is farmed, but for a top laner to reach that threshold, that's impressive.
The other issue that CJ is beginning to face is that all of their gold is inside of Coco, and that's the one person you don't want it to be in right now. You'd probably rather have it in actually Shy or Space.
And Swift engages again. This time it goes down well. And Nagne is caught. He's not going to be able to deal any damage. And Helios is trying to salvage something from this team fight. Beautifully executed from CJ.
Absolutely beautiful execution. And they turned what was a almost guaranteed lost game into something salvageable, but Soraka showing her head.
Right, and they're actually, despite the fact that they won the team fight, they're not really going to...
They can't capitalize off it. Right. So what really is gained out of there? You go 1 for 2. Yes, it is a victory. Jack still has Flash. You know, it's not the end of the world for Najin. It was a mistake, but it's definitely not over by any means because nothing could be capitalized off it.
Look at the incredible sustain of Soraka. Like, as the fight gets longer, Soraka just seems to capitalize more.
Yeah.
And also, it might be a little more discouraging for CJ to know that there are, majority of their dealers are bust dealers, right? But once their bust is in, they're pretty much useless for the rest of the team fight.
Exactly.
And with the heal meta coming in, with Soraka, with Nami, how LeBlanc is going to be exposed, and like you said, the amount of gold on LeBlanc.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a little bit bizarre. And the other issue is that they can't really chase too well, even with Evelyn's W, even with Shy's movement boost on Shyvana, and that's primarily because of the Rylai's coming out of Limit Soraka.
And the Dragon's Descent comes in, they engage again, but what you just said was just seen here. They're not very good at chasing either. And especially as Shyvana seems to do poorly in this sort of situations because other than Dragon's Descent and the movement speed buff on the W.
Right. Definitely needs the Bork to stick.
Right.
Which, that's definitely a futuristic build from the start, is because Shy knows I'm going to be getting slowed down later.
Right.
So I'm going to need that Bork to stick through Rylai's.
And also, it totally explains the Randuin rush. Not only to shut down a lot of Zed's damage, but, like you said, the stick, the additional stick that comes from the VORK and Randuin. And Zed uses his ultimate on Swift. Is he going to be able to get the kill? Mad Life's Mikhail comes in just on a perfect timing, and Swift survives this. But they're going to be able to push this mid tower, pressure this mid tower. But Shyvana's Dragon's Descent is on. He's trying to engage, and Nagne goes in.
Does
not have the ultimate.
Oh, but Mad Life goes down.
Mad Life goes down, but Prey, Ashai is sticking onto Prey, and LeBlanc deals the damage. Kind trying to heal up, but Helios
wrecking face so right now.
Oh my god, he's crashing skulls right now. And Kine lives with just a sliver of health. Helios actually chasing Shai. He knows that he can deal that damage. When the stun goes in, Shai is done for. Wow, and they're rushing the
That's it.
The Baron, you're up. They know that they can take this.
They do know, but Evelyn is up, which is the jungler, so Smite, it is a possibility, and they don't have pink wards in their inventory right now, Najin. So, I think as Baron begins to get a little bit lower, they'll try to... Oh, but it looks like maybe they're going to disengage it. Now, this is opportunity for Evelyn against some of them.
Right.
Now, is Swift going to try to chase ever so slowly and try to get a gank? It doesn't look like it.
Also, it's surprising because Nagne, it seemed like he almost threw here.
Yeah, it was well, not a throw, but I think he just overestimated what was going to happen. His team was a little bit too far back, and then CJ just perfectly took advantage of that. And Coco getting caught there obviously is not the most ideal of situations.
Right, but it is surprising. It just shows the capability of this heal meta. I mean, LeBlanc went in there and dealt her W damage on 4 people. But still, she did not manage to salvage a kill.
Right.
Perhaps the heal meta should even be discussed as a counter to LeBlanc. Maybe that's why they left LeBlanc open. Well,
assassins in general are definitely compromised, but I don't think that's necessarily the issue with what's going on here.
And Helios with the Grandmaster's Might on, just harassing Swift. Oh my goodness! Now Jax is totally fed. Jax is almost unstoppable at this point. Mad Life is forced to flash behind. Shai is caught.
Will Shai get
in. He has the Randall is on, but
doesn't matter.
Too strong
and now Najin probably they have 2 options. They could try to push down mid, get the inhibitor, fall back, and collapse on Baron because they do have 5 members alive. Or they can just play it really safe, really slow, methodical. When you're ahead, get more ahead, take Baron.
Take Baron.
Because they're already crushing fights. What's going to happen with Baron buff up, and with Swift being down, no smites available.
That's exactly what they're doing right now. This is pretty much a free Baron. Look at this, a Coco in the bot lane. They're not even bothering to challenge the Baron. A smile on Prey's face, he's certainly happy. And Najin fans are happy too. For the first time they see their team in a significant lead, they might as well very well take the set. So, what does CJ have to do at this point to bring the match back?
CJ, like in the earlier stages where they got to pick onto Prey, they got to pick onto Nanya, they need something like that. But I think Najin's aware of that, and they're just not going to let it happen. That would be their only saving grace right now. They are down 12,000 gold, about to be 13,000.
But just looking at the ward locations, the map control, I don't think they're going to able to make. I don't think they're going to let that happen.
Nope, I don't think so either. I think this is going to be the final push right here, just in terms of itemization. Lucian just completed Trinity Force.
At 33 minutes.
So it just goes to show how far behind Space is.
Right. The inhibitor is down and CJ in a real jam.
And now we see pings going off in top lane for Najin. So they want to just collapse, get that tower. And I feel like Jax could just simply actually tank the tower, and then you can send one person up, collapse on the minions, get that farm, and you guys would be fine, especially with Soraka's heal, because it does help out against tower shots.
And Najin, although they took the inhibitor down, they are not thinking about recalling. They want to capitalize on the Baron buff for as long as possible. And Nagne just stay near the wolves, perhaps trying to pick out Evelyn. CJ is just so caught up here. I'm not sure what they can do to really salvage the game. And Limit is tanky.
Limit's tanky now, yeah. So there's multiple problems where they just simply don't have the damage. Like, their damage is inside of Shy and Coco, and that's not who you want the damage to be in right now, just because of the dynamic of how the team comps are starting to formulate as the game goes longer and longer.
And looking at the damage that Shy just took in, how often do we see a top Soraka be more tanky than a top Shyvana?
Not very often.
No.
And Limit is 0-0-16 on Soraka right now. Beautiful play coming out of his Soraka.
Imagine if he bought a Magi Soul Stealer. How scary would that be?
Well, Soraka doesn't have the greatest AP values, but the cooldown reduction, maybe he could have skipped Ionian Boots and gone a little bit tankier with Tier 2. But I think you know, you're in the finals, you don't go for Magi's. You just play safe.
Go for the occult. And Najin has the lead. They have one hand on the set, and they're pushing this away, and CJ has no real choice but to back off. The top inhibitor is going to go down too, which is going to give them a great advantage when it comes to the next Baron generation time. Will the game even go that far, to be honest? Look how far the super minions are in. CJ can't even salvage themselves to clear out the lane. And is Najin thinking about just finishing the game off at this point?
I believe so. I believe that Najin can actually dive these two towers because of Soraka. Shy having to Dragon Descent out of that, that's probably actually the game. Coco, no mana.
And the amount of damage that Praise Auto was able to deal on Shyvana, considering how pathetic Caitlyn's damage seemed to be against Jai Shyvana in Game 2.
Yeah.
And they're forced to flash away, and they're just so afraid of Helios right now.
And that's it. They're just going to right-click the Nexus, and that is going to be game. Najin Sword takes Game 3. Now we're going to Game 4.
They're making a way back, and they're not going to let Frost down this easy. Najin Sword takes a set back, forces a Game 4. CJ Frost now has to fight back.
Great play by Najin. They look really happy. They look excited.
They look happy. I mean,
so maybe this was a bit of a morale booster, and now going into Game 4.
And now CJ is actually...
CJ seems a little unhappy.
Look at Madley. Just making comments, they're exchanging ideas, and Nabi, they're just joking around. Look how happy Nabi is.
Yeah, he is extremely happy. He did really well. He deserves it. Really well on the set.
The super plays that he landed, he's probably replaying that in his mind several times, just complimenting himself perhaps.
Possibly.
So tune in again for set 4 of this incredible match that just got much interesting. Najin Sword versus CJ Entus Frost, set 4. Thank you very much. We'll be right back.